It's just, well, infuriating, isn't it? When you keep hearing the economy is getting better, things are looking up. But honestly, every time I go to the grocery store, it feels like a fight.
Yeah.
Prices just keep climbing. My neighbor, she was telling me just yesterday, she's a single mom, how hard it is just to buy basic things like fish and onions, for a decent meal for the kids.
hmm
We get these grand statements from the government, big numbers, but for the average Malaysian, it's just a daily grind trying to make that ringgit stretch.
It really is.
And those election promises,
Mhm.
especially the ones about easing the burden, it feels like they're just not happening, not in a real way.
Right. That disconnect is palpable.
Exactly. This gap between the talk and the reality, it's more than frustrating. It really shakes your trust. And look, something that came up today politically,
hmm
it suggests accountability. Well, it might not be quite what we thought.
You've really put your finger on why these economic issues are causing such waves politically right now.
Yeah.
Because today you had Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin speaking at a big gathering in KL, and he really honed in on that very point. He basically drew a straight line from the weak ringgit, the flat incomes, to what he calls a failure of governance.
Okay, so he didn't hold back.
Not at all. He flat out called the current administration incapable of managing the economy, said they're directly responsible for people suffering.
Wow.
And think about the things he mentioned: sugar, flour, milk, onions, fish. These are essentials, right? Not luxuries. And the price hikes hit everyone.
Absolutely. Every household feels that.
So Muhyiddin challenged their whole clean governance narrative.
Mm.
Said it sounds empty when the cost of living just keeps going up and up.
Right. Actions versus words.
Exactly.
Huh.
He even mentioned noticing himself how much more expensive basic stuff is now, trying to make it relatable, grounded on that shared experience.
Hmm.
And this whole situation, where a leader seems to be losing public confidence because of the economy,
Mm.
it naturally leads to that big question. What happens next?
Right.
Should they stay on?
And that's where policy really bites, right? It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's how it affects real life, day to day.
Precisely. And Muhyiddin got into those specifics today, explaining why these economic points hit such a raw nerve.
Like what specifically?
Well, he talked about the expanded sales and service tax, the SST. He said it now covers something like over 6,000 goods and services.
6,000. That's huge.
It is. And the examples he used were quite telling things for weddings, like renting a bridal gown, hiring tents, even tables and chairs.
So weddings.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. And he made this pretty controversial point that policies like these are actually making young Malaysians hesitate about getting married. The cost is just becoming too much.
I can see how that would resonate. What else?
Then he criticized the RM100 cash aid. His argument was that it's not really effective because it's not just going to the B40 group, the lowest income earners it was meant for.
Oh, who else is getting it?
He claimed it's also benefiting the M40 and even T20 groups, the middle and top income earners. So it's diluted, not really helping those who need it most.
Okay, so misallocated, essentially.
That was his point. And he contrasted it with what his party would do, offering 3 times the aid, but specifically targeted only at the B40.
Right, so a very different approach proposed there.
Definitely. It's a direct challenge to the current government's economic strategy, focusing on that targeted relief.
Looking at it like that, the SST impacting weddings, the cash aid issue, it really paints a picture of policies maybe not quite hitting the mark for ordinary people.
Exactly. It highlights the impact not just on finances, but on major life decisions, like getting married. It raises questions about whether current strategies are truly helping the most vulnerable.
Makes sense.
But William didn't just stick to the economy. He shifted gears, talking about broken promises and, this is serious, hinting at corruption.
Broken promises like what?
The big one was the pledge to lower fuel prices. He pointed out how prices first shot up by RM 1.20, and then recently there was this tiny, almost symbolic reduction of just 6 cents.
6 cents after RM 1.20.
Right, and he used this phrase, Jinda Shi Swan. Meticulous calculation, but clearly sarcastically. Like the government went to great lengths for a completely trivial result for the people.
Ouch. That's pointed.
Very. But then he got into the corruption allegations. Veiled, but pretty unmistakable.
Okay, this sounds like it could be explosive. What exactly did he allege?
Well, he didn't name names directly, but he spoke about a deputy prime minister sitting to his right, leaving little doubt who he meant, who had faced 47 charges.
47.
Yes. And these charges were dropped crucially after prima facie evidence had apparently already been established.
Wait, after prima facie, so there was enough evidence to proceed initially.
That's the implication of prima facie, yes.
Yeah.
That's what makes the dropping of the charges so controversial. Muhyiddin hammered this point home, saying real anti-corruption efforts have to be impartial. No favorites.
No matter who it is.
Exactly. He insisted action must be taken against figures like that, regardless of their position. This really challenges the whole clean governance claim the current government has been making.
It certainly does. It suggests the opposite, that maybe principles are being compromised.
Precisely. And it feeds into his bigger argument about leadership and trust.
How so?
He connected these allegations directly to trust. He argued that even if a prime minister is chosen by a majority, they still need to earn the trust of all citizens through good management and ethical behavior.
So it's not just about winning an election, it's about ongoing legitimacy.
That's his point. He said if that trust is lost, stepping down is the only honorable option. It's a strong statement on accountability.
And he made it personal too, didn't he? Something about Anwar.
He did. He said, Anwar is my friend, no mistake, but this is not about friends. It's about the people and the nation.
Framing it as national interest over personal ties.
Exactly. Trying to position his critique as being about principles, not personality. And he stressed that leaders have to be open to being questioned to democratic scrutiny.
Which is fair enough.
But then, this is where things get really interesting today. Because alongside all this heavy criticism, some very different information emerge about the gathering itself, about the numbers.
Yes, the numbers. I saw reports on this too. It sounded... Well, let's get into it. The 726 anti-Anwar gathering today. There was this massive claim, right, from Muhyiddin's side, the organizers. They were talking about, what was it, 500,000 people?
500,000 attendees. That was the figure being pushed, painting a picture of this enormous wave of opposition.
500,000, that's a huge crowd for KL, but that's not what other reports said.
Not even close. Independent reports, observers on the ground, they consistently reported numbers in the tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands versus 500,000. That's not just a small difference, that's a massive gap.
It's a chasm, a huge discrepancy.
So what do you make of that? I mean, what does that signify when a movement claims such vast numbers, but the reality seems so much smaller? Does that exaggeration actually matter to people?
Oh, it absolutely matters. Politically, the implications are significant.
In what way?
Well, when you have such a big difference between the hype and the reality, it inevitably affects the movement's credibility. It raises questions about how much support they really have.
Right. It can make the whole thing seem less powerful than claimed.
Exactly. In politics, perception is often key. Momentum matters. And if the turnout is visibly much lower than expected or claimed, it can deflate that sense of momentum, regardless of how valid the criticisms might be.
Yeah, the visuals often speak louder.
And interestingly, another politician at that same rally, Anwar Ibrahim Tuan Man, made a statement. He said, people cannot defend liars and leaders cannot lie.
He said that at the rally with the disputed numbers.
Yes, which, adds a layer of irony, highlighting that very issue of truth and accountability in politics right there in that context.
Wow.
It shows how these factual points, like crowd size, can really shape the narrative, sometimes even cutting through the rhetoric. You're forced to look beyond the speeches and ask, what's actually verifiable?
It really complicates the picture, doesn't it? Because you also had Dr. Mahathir there today. His presence adds another dimension, even leaving in a wheelchair.
It does. It adds historical weight.
So we're left with this real tension. On one hand, you have these very sharp, very direct criticisms about the economy, about integrity, things that genuinely affect Malaysians every day, real struggles.
Powerful messages.
But then, almost immediately, you get this counter-narrative about the actual strength of the movement making those criticisms, specifically based on those rally numbers today.
Yeah, the call for change versus questions about the scale of the demand for change.
So the politicians are saying, we need change because of mismanagement and corruption. But the numbers story complicates how much popular backing that call truly has, at least based on today's event.
It really highlights just how complex it is to read the political tea leaves, doesn't it? Trying to gauge public feeling when you have such wildly different stories being told about the same event.
It definitely does.
It forces us, as observers, to think critically about how we evaluate these claims and counterclaims. Where does the truth lie in all this?
So, thinking about all this, as Malaysians watching this unfold, what do you prioritize more when you're judging leadership? Is it the promises they make? Is it the economic reality you live with every single day? Or Is it how strong their opposition seems, even if the proof of that strength, like crowd numbers, is debatable?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
Yeah. And what does all this back and forth, these conflicting narratives, mean for the trust we put in our leaders and just the overall health of our political conversation in Malaysia?